Barry, you can start.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me present. You're all looking very good, by the way. Venice is looking very beautiful. I'm calling in from a very rainy and dreary Dublin, so I'm very, very sorry I can't be with all of you. But hopefully next year. So my name is Barry Rogers. I'm the head of Dublin Tourism Unit, and today I'm going to talk to you about a project we've been running for a couple of years, which is our Smart Tourism program. And I'm just going to talk a bit about what we've been up to. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Dublin as a destination first, give you a bit of context. I'm going to talk about our role in the local authority in Dublin. Then I'm going to talk about our new tourism strategy, and finally, kind of what it means to be a smart destination in Dublin. As I said, we've been doing this for a few years. And we're still learning what a smart destination is and a smart tourism program is. We haven't got it all right yet. So we're certainly on a journey. So just for a quick recap, in Dublin, we have something called the Smart Tourism Program. It's a program we've been running now for almost 3 years. It's fully funded. It costs about 200,000 euros a year. It manages about 15 projects across the city, and it has a designated smart tourism manager employed in order to deliver on the project. So we have a smart tourism program that will continue into the future. In 2022, we were shortlisted as the Smart Tourism Capital of Europe, and then last year we won the Tourism Innovation Award for Best Smart Tourism Destination, Best Innovative Destination as well. So I would say before I start, this isn't going to be a presentation about how great Dublin is. This is very much going to be a presentation about the challenges that we have and how we are trying to solve them using new kind of different methodologies. My background is tourism development and tourism marketing. And I think that the entire tourism development world is completely changed. And we're in a very, very new place at the moment, and one that I kind of personally feel unequipped to deal with. But we'll see. I'll let you be the judge of how we're getting on. So Dublin, like Venice, has been a tourism destination for a very, very, very long time. We have been visited by people for at least 200, 250 years, and we've been involved in tourism destination development and marketing for 200 years. So we've been doing tourism like you guys for a very, very long time. And the point I'd like to get across in this presentation is that tourism has been the same for quite a long time. It's been really quite a simple industry for 200 years, and now really in this kind of current decade that we're in, the whole thing is kind of changing. So really interesting time to be involved in tourism, and a really scary time to be involved in tourism as well. I'll give you an example of how big Dublin is, very similar to the size of the tourism industry in Venice. So we have almost 7 million visitors a year, 2 million domestic visitors. We have 30 million people going through our airport every year. And if you're traveling to Ireland, the likelihood is that you're traveling to Dublin. So 80% of all of the flights coming into the country come into Dublin. Our industry raises about 4 billion in revenue a year, and it's got 75%, 75,000 people employed as well. On top of that, we have 75,000 hotel beds, and we have 15,000 short-term letting beds. So that's kind of like Airbnb as well. Possibly like Venice, we are under huge strain at the moment. We have extraordinarily high demand for Dublin. There's never been more people looking to come to Dublin as a destination in that 200-year history, which is both good and bad. We are the highest, we are the most expensive economy in Europe. We are the most expensive place, one of the most expensive places to do business in Europe at the moment. We have a huge lack of hospitality staff, a huge lack of accommodation supply, and we have issues which will be similar to Venice in terms of distribution and crowding. So what's going on with tourism in Dublin, in Ireland? We had a brief dip. In 2019, we had 11 million visitors, okay, to the island of Ireland. We had a brief dip like everyone during COVID. And now over the next kind of 7 years, there's a prediction that we will have 25% growth before 20. So we should have 40 million people visiting the island of Ireland by 2030. I want you to keep that in your mind in the context of sustainability, social inclusion, distribution, and things like meeting target goals as well. So just to show you a very ugly slide, I promise it's the ugliest slide that I have. Just to give you an idea of where does Dublin benchmark against other cities. So Dublin is the fourth most expensive city to visit in Europe. And it's the second most or the first most expensive in terms of accommodation, okay? So I'm saying this to you not to try and persuade you not to visit Dublin. I want all of you to come and visit Dublin, and I hope that you do. But it's just to give you a very transparent and honest kind of view of what's going on in the city, okay? So what do we do in terms of, what do we do that's a bit different in terms of Dublin City Council? So we are in charge of a lot of the basic nuts and bolts of tourism in the city. So we do things like, you know, tourism planning, strategy. We approve hotel development, stuff like that. We support a lot of festivals and events. We run attractions and museums, similar to yourselves. We run partnerships and programs. And then we run things like communications through branding. And we also have infrastructure which supports tourism, like, for example, telecoms, free Wi-Fi, that kind of thing. The most important thing we do, which is on the bottom of the list, but is the most important, is as a local authority, we are responsible for advocating on behalf of the citizen, on behalf of the person who lives in Dublin. That is our main job. And that's why we have a different perspective on tourism in Dublin than other people. So we represent citizens, people who live in the city, okay? Okay, we are flipping the traditional tourism model on its head, okay? So if you are involved in tourism, you'll be very traditionally looking at international visitors, domestic visitors, that kind of thing. We're thinking about tourism in a completely different way now, very much because we have to, okay? So our tourism goals are primarily, okay, human. So we no longer serve kind of an economic-based growth model. We serve a human-based growth model, okay? We want to use tourism as a vehicle to make our destination better, our communities better, our neighborhoods better, not just revenue, jobs, growth, money. Really important, okay? So sustainable. Is our tourism industry proactive, accountable, and measurable toward being climate neutral by 2050, okay? And then finally, innovative. Is our destination future-facing, creative, collaborative, and digitally advanced? And I'm going to show you some examples of what I mean by that now. The pillars of our new tourism strategy are as follows. And I'm going to give you an example of what I've done here is I've paired one project with each pillar. We have, you know, 50 projects going on across the city, but I'm going to pick out one of each to give you an idea. And all of this is to kind of explain how we have flipped the traditional tourism development model upside down in Dublin. And we're going in a very different direction for the next 10 years than kind of traditional tourism economies, okay? Okay, so the first thing we have done, which is different, is we have placed the person who lives in Dublin, so the local, in the middle of our visitor mix, okay? So if you're a tourism advertiser or a tourism developer, you are always looking for the international visitor and then the domestic visitor. And then after that, you'll start to think about other sets. You're going for high income, high yield visitors. We have flipped that model on its head. In Dublin, what we want to do is start building a visitor economy for the people who live and enjoy the city first, so Dubliners. After that, then domestic, so people who live in Ireland. And then after that, international visitors, okay? So we've flipped that tourism model, which is based on international visitors first, on its head. So we now place in all of our decisions and projects, we place the person who lives in Dublin at the center as the chief audience, okay? The second part of that, which is really important, is we regularly do citizen sentiment engagement analysis. What does that mean? That means that we're constantly asking the people who live in our city how they feel about tourism. Okay, there's not too many cities who do this, but it's extremely important. Okay, the reason we do this is because we know that Dubliners are an extremely important part of the visitor mix. We know that they act as tourists in their own city. We also ask our visitors, we ask our locals how happy they are, and we have some of the happiest locals in Europe. Our locals, 94% of them said that tourism in Dublin is very positive, and that's 4% more than Copenhagen. So Copenhagen is always on a pedestal, and we're really happy that we're better at them for one thing. So public realm and infrastructure, our museums, our streets, our sidewalks, our exhibitions, everything like that, what are we doing? So one of the things we're doing is we're using tourism as a vehicle to build better museums, build better institutions. One of the examples is we have a very famous museum in Dublin called 14 Henrietta Street, which won the Best Museum of the Year award in Europe last year. And this is a museum that tells the story of citizens of Dublin throughout the last 200 years. Again, a museum that the city needs to be, the city essentially is responsible for. We're also improving the accessibility. We've placed universal accessibility at the center of all of our tourism projects. And then finally, a really important one, we have to ensure that there's a balance between future demand of visitor infrastructure and the need to maintain local communities and character, okay? So sustainability and climate, extremely important. And we are very much trying to get on top of this like other destinations are as well. But what have we done, I suppose? The first thing we did was we became the first Irish destination to sign the Glasgow Declaration on Sustainable Tourism. So we are the only signature in Ireland of the UN Glasgow Declaration. Really, really important. We're working on widespread accreditation for all of our activities and museums. And then we also measure our carbon footprint. And now we will only be promoting green spaces, green activities, green attractions. Okay, culture. So culture is basically the reason everyone comes to visit Dublin. It's basically the reason we are a very successful destination. We have one of the only, it's a project we've been working on for a couple of years now. It's called Culture Near You. And essentially what it is it's the only map of culture in the city and where it happens. And it's developed by the people who live in the city. And why is that interesting? That's interesting because if you're a visitor and you're going to a city, you want to know what you want to do there. The best people to ask are locals. So that's why we built Culture Near You. It's the only cultural database of its kind that I can find in Europe. And it's available online in a map, in a web app as well. So it works really well. We also upload all of that information as open data. And then we use it in things like our visitor kiosks all around the city. We use it in our website development. And we use that cultural data to build new infrastructure throughout the city as well. So data and insights, really, really important that you know what's going on in the city. We've quite a mature relationship with tourism data, and I'll give you some examples of what that looks like now. So we publish a monthly report on tourism data, which has over 50 tourism data sources in it. One of those data sources is MasterCard tourism spend. So we know how much visitors in the city are spending and where they're spending their money. Really, really important. Okay, another ugly graph, but it's really important. I just want to show you this for a second. So when I said Dublin has extremely high demand, what does that mean? That means that there's more people Googling accommodation in Dublin, flights to Dublin, experiences in Dublin than ever before, okay? We have an extraordinarily high demand peak, which is what this graph is. So if you look at the blue line is people all over the world like you Googling holidays in Dublin. So this blue line is extraordinarily high throughout the entire year and very much represents a level of demand that is unachievable for the destination. And that's one of the things we're trying to combat at the moment. I've also generated this graph this morning for Venice. So I want to show you what that looks like as well. So this is the Venice graph, okay? So you might notice some differences. This is the Dublin graph. This is the Venice graph. Venice has a very interesting demand curve as a destination. It's a more traditional tourism demand curve. So what we see is a leveling off during the shoulder season and the off season, and then into a peak summer season with several kind of, I'm sure you all know what these spikes are, but I don't. These huge spikes in demand, possibly for events, festivals, tickets that have been released on certain dates. The kind of point, I suppose, is that traditional tourism economies have this demand, which is a kind of a U-curve demand throughout the year, a shoulder season, a peak season, and a trough season. In Dublin, we no longer have that. We just have one straight demand curve. We have different levels of demand jumping from 60% to 90%. And ultimately what that means is that's too much demand for one visitor economy. It's just an unachievable amount of demand to have supply to meet. And then finally, my last project is that we have developed an augmented reality app for the city, which allows us to build stories about the city, trails of the city, onto the platform and then share them with visitors. So this is an app that we built that has about 6,000 downloads, and it allows visitors to explore the city in augmented reality. So it's very straightforward, and it's been really successful in driving activity to lesser visited parts of Dublin. So finally, just as I finish up, we've been doing smart tourism for about 3 years now. We spent a lot of money on it. We've won some awards, and we've had a measure of success with smart tourism. But ultimately, what we've found is that smart tourism isn't about one approach or one methodology. It's certainly not about technology. But what we found out is that basically a smart destination is one that understands what's going on in its destination, okay? Both positive and negative. The negative now is almost more important than the positive. We use technology not for technology's sake, but ultimately to make sure that we're making the destination more accessible. So what does that mean? It means information experiences are more accessible. We place locals, probably the most important one. A smart destination puts locals at the center of its destination. It doesn't prioritize the welfare of visitors, domestic or international, over locals. Fundamentally, a smart destination will also lead the conversation in climate action and be an advocate for climate action. And then my favorite one is that we often talk about tourism as if destinations compete with each other, and that's just no longer the case. What I love is that a smart destination is one that collaborates with other cities, builds relationships with other cities, does project work with other cities, and doesn't just see them as a competitor. So that's my final slide. With that, I'm going to leave you and just say thank you so much for having me. I would wish you all to come visit Dublin. And if you do, or you need anything, please just feel free to send me an email. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey Barry, how are you doing? Just Donna here. Thanks so much for your presentation. It was really great to see what's happening in Dublin. You mentioned about kind of good quality of life, good quality of place for local Dubliners, and that being your priority. How does that play out in terms of developing kind of the destination in terms of neighborhoods and trying to get people out of Temple Bar and maybe kind of bringing tourists to other parts of the city? How does the challenge of good quality of life for citizens while still trying to bring about new opportunities for tourists, how do you manage that?
Thank you so much, Annika. It's great to see you. Yeah, so the question of how do you, so it's all well and good to say, oh, we're going to prioritize locals, you know, we're going to put locals at the middle. It's all very well and good to say that, but we have to back it up with real impact. And I suppose what we're trying to do is, so Dublin City Council, you know, is a huge local authority. has a budget of 1.4 billion a year, spends millions of euro on tourism projects. And what we're very much trying to do is make sure that when we approach a tourism project, like let's say, for example, we're building a museum, you know, when we're building a museum, instead of saying something like, okay, this museum is going to be for international visitors, domestic visitors, it's going to make X amount a year, we're going to need to advertise in X markets. What we say is this museum is first going to be for the people of Dublin. And then after that, this museum is going to be for X, Y, and Z. And so it's more of a decision-making process from that. 14 Henrietta Street is a great example of a museum that was built by Dubliners for Dubliners, and it's one of the most successful tourism attractions in the city. In terms of dispersion, this is a classic kind of Venice issue as well. The best thing to do to make sure visitors are moving around your destination is just to build more interesting experiences in other parts of your destination. One of the reasons we launched the app in the Docklands was because we wanted more visitors there, and as soon as we launched the app, we could see that we had 6,000 people down in the Docklands over the last few months. So it's really just about a frame of mind, and then about building better experiences throughout the city area, I suppose. Thanks, Sonika.
Thank you, Barry. Any other questions? Okay, Barry, thank you very much for connecting from Dublin, and all of these videos for the whole day today and tomorrow will be on YouTube, and you can watch them when they're posted. But we'll thank you again, and we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much to SMARTDEST and also to the University of Alicante to have the opportunity to be here to show you Benidorm Showcase. It's quite difficult to explain everything that we have done during these years, because we are working in this project since 2014, but I will try to explain as much as I could. Anyway, I will give you the presentation in order to have all the information there. So let's see. Okay. So I'm going to tell you some numbers on KPIs from Benidorm. We are a really little city, okay? Well, really, we are less than 70,000 population, but our numbers in tourism are huge. We are the third city in the Spanish Peninsula in United States, almost 16.4 United States in 2019. That means that the days that we have less people, we can have 150,000, and in high season, we can have 400,000. That's it. Really a lot of people coming to the city for different nationalities, and you need to manage this amount of people with such a little city. We have more than 93,000 beds. In hotels, we have 41,000 beds. So that gives us the opportunity to have different kind of clients, because we have campings, we have apartments, rental houses, so everything at the same time in the city from different nationalities. 50% of our clients are Spanish and 50% are international. Most of our British in the international, and depends of the period of the year. We have different clients. During winter time, we have elderly people and people from the north of Europe, and during the summer we have more people from the south, families and young people that come to the city to enjoy what they want, because there are many different products that you can enjoy on the city. We are going to speak about water and other information that is very interesting a little bit later. So we have many challenges. We have been working being a smart destination. We begin the work in 2015, and we have the certification of the Spanish model in November of 2018. Here you have the numbers of the Spanish methodology of Segitur, and we have a certification that is the UNE 1785001. And during this period, what we have done is to work in different axes: sustainability, accessibility, governance, technology, and innovation, making special actions in all of them. You have this smart destination plan with the 5 axes, with the 17 activities and 91 actions that we have done, and we work every day during all this period that we have been certificating every year the work that we have been doing. In the challenge of accessibility, for us was very important to increment what we have been doing, because when in 2018 we thought we have been working very hard and we have lots of things in accessibility, but we realized that our numbers was only 62%, that where we have been arriving in the KPIs of the certification. So we increase how much things we have done. We have made a transversal area for accessibility in the town hall, that everybody can, every action that we do, we think about accessibility in that action. Here you have some of them, like the accessible beaches certified, that we have them from many years ago. We have the guides, the tourist map from blind people, the accessibility department that I told you, Navilens all over the central of the city. Elimination physical barriers, that is very common, but you are going to see here that we are working also to eliminate visual barriers. Okay, here we have, I don't know how you call it in English, it's like, well, okay, you see it. And we have changed this thing with glasses, where you don't have these visual barriers, so people in wheelchair or kids in prams, they can look for the wonderful views without any trouble. So we are working to think in a different way also for everybody. And we have many other points of heritage that could be accessible and interpretive tables that are very useful for people. And the problem in this case is that once you have worked in that part, is how do you communicate? Because it was very, very difficult, you know, that good news are very difficult to be in newspapers or everywhere. So we are working with influencers, especially influencers like blind people or people that go in wheelchair, to help us to let the people know. Okay. Let the people know what we have been doing, so they help us to show it. In the part of sustainability, we have done also many different things. I'm going to let you know some actions. We are putting culture in open-air museums. We have a problem. We have museums, but people, as the destiny is Sun and Beach destiny, we have also a natural park and many other things, but people think about Benidorm because Sun and Beach. They didn't go to the museum, so we take out the museums to the street for the people. We have other spaces from historical heritage that we are putting to show the people that they are there and try to promote them, promoting sports and sport facilities with different programs for all the social people and inhabitants for the city. And during the pandemic, we make lots of things because we have been measuring many things, so we have the opportunity to make different actions, like to aid the business with different promotions, to incentive the residents to shop locally. That was very interesting. I have some information about it in the here to let you know how we make it in order to increment the local businesses, because that was a real big problem for us. in sustainability, also in social, we make other actions like children menus for schools during the period of the pandemic. All these actions have to be less relative in Benidorm, because Benidorm, all the workers work in tourism. So imagine with tourism is zero, nobody has work. So we need to make many social measures for the people, because people didn't know how much time they are going to be without job. And they need much more things that in other cities that you have, that tourism is a part of the industrial. For us, it was everything. So we make many actions, and everything was very, very organized, because we are already used to measure everything. So the first inform to say we are going to have a problem was when you have a problem here in Italy, because we were looking already China. Later on, we were looking what happened in Italy, and we worked 1 month before that happens anything in Spain. So once Spain was like closing from like an alert, we take out all the clients and we close the hotels in 72 hours, because we knew in advance that we will have a problem. So we make decisions very efficiently. In the water option, we have very good numbers. Benidorm has had many problems with water during the 70s. We don't have water, it doesn't rain very much in Benidorm. So how they have been working in water cycle is incredible. We are one of the better efficiency numbers of water cycle, one of the 5 cities in the world that better manage the water, and we use the 36% of depurated water in gardening, in cleaning the streets during the night, for example, and also to the agriculture. But once that we have reused the water. In waste collection, we also are working very hard in the recycling. We take out all the waste in 4 hours every night because of this vertical model of the city. And we recycle, for example, glass 3 more times than Spanish medium efficient energy. We have a urban mobility plan also to solve some problems that we have because of this vertical model. You can see here, for example, the cycling vias. We have nowadays 134 kilometers of cycling vias all over the city. And for example, we have 8,000 parkings, free parkings all around the city to help the people to leave the car outside of the city without any problem, and to have buses from this parking to the center of the city. Here in Venice, you have it from many years ago, but we didn't need it before, and we are managing this part from 5 years ago, more or less. We are measuring also with different tools the environment KPIs. You have them, some of them. We have all this information in the beginning with IoT tools in the city, but we realized that was much better to have from satellite information. So we have all the information from some satellites. And other part is the part of the coexistence between tourists and residents. We have working in different campaigns, Enjoy and Respect. I have seen when I arrived to Venice that you have a page that also use these 2 words, Enjoy and Respect Venezia. So we are working in the same way. For the moment, we don't have many troubles. And one of the things that we have more importance of working is we have a smart data, a smart office for a smart data destination, where we make data strategy, data analyze, quality, fundraising, and also everything has to do with innovation and technology. The data for us is very, very important. We need it to make decisions, not only in the tourism, in all the management of the governance of the city. We are working, everybody sharing these data spaces because we collaborate all together, the enterprises and the city. Here you have some of all the sources that we are using nowadays for us are very useful. And with, for example, this tool is for our social media and all the actions that we have making, so we can control everything, how it's going in social media. This other is Mabrian. I don't know if you know it, but for us it's very useful because we have the information of the flights and also the information of the products and what the people think about Benidorm from different countries and from different cities of the countries. Also, we use other tools that transparent from rental houses. We use before DNI, but they didn't have the numbers for the data from booking, and for us booking is more than 40% of the information of the city, so we needed to have another tool. And transparent, this is the tool that we are using, and it's very useful to look how the rental are going in Benidorm to take decisions for the future. With all this information and other free information like Google and everything that we have from the city, we make different intelligent reports. We make 3 reports each month since 2018, not only for the town hall, also for all the workers of the tourism sector, so everybody has the same information and we can all together work in making a better city. And with all this information, for example, the revenue of the hotels can work for making better decisions, as I told you. If you want to see the informs, I can share it with you. It's not a problem. And I wanted to tell you another project that we have been working since 2018 is Beyond Trend. You can look it at the web. Here you can see how the hotels from different chains, they have all together sharing their data, and with different programs, we really know how much is being selling for the future. So we don't have the information of the past, we have also the information of the future of what is happening in the city. And the hotels, what they have is their own data and the data of the competitors that they have it without anonymized, that help us to make a better decisions. So you have more or less what's the information that they can look. And nowadays this project that begins in Benidorm is in all region of Valencia, because it's very useful to have the information from other destinies and to make comparison to get better. We have been working in different products to increase the numbers in the low season that help us to have a better situation from all this enterprise that could work all over the year, and also the social sustainability of the workers. Okay, so this is some lessons and replicability that we have think about the work that we have done. So thank you very much. If you need the presentation, I leave it for you because it was too much information.
One quick question, no? While we switch, if you want.
Buenas. One question. How much is overall, ballpark figure, the investment you make in acquiring all this data? The data we had seen from social media, from Google. From yeah, we have seen sources from Mabrian, from all the different, from PMS.
It's around 50,000 euros. 50,000 euros per all the year round. Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's a very comprehensive project and approach. Is yeah, amazing to see. There was one line in the presentation you made that was written, creation of spaces for homeless. What does it mean? Did you provide housing?
Okay, that was in the pandemic, because in the middle of the pandemic, there were many people that they were there in the streets. So we have been working to give a space to all those people that suddenly were there in the streets and everybody should be in their houses. So we make a program for them, and we also make a program to look for where the people that need something and where the volunteers that could be in charge of helping, okay? So we make like a CRM with all that information, and we look for the people that were living in the same places that need it, and the volunteers, in order that do not make many movements all around the city, and also to make like a control if something happens to everybody, to know if that people that had COVID has gone to any houses to control, and to see if those elderly people are okay, if they were somebody that have helped them from something. So it was like something very controlled.
All right, thank you again, Leire. Thank you, and we'll move on.
Thank you for inviting me to be here in this nice and beautiful city. My name is Lucía Hernández. I am based in Barcelona, and I am an expert on the platform economy. You know, the Airbnbs and so on. So I started with the platform economy 10 years ago when we started to talk about the sharing economy. And I started to talk about the sharing economy because I was super interested in understanding how this kind of platform mindset or strategies could really generate a positive impact in society. So I do consultancy for companies, public and private organizations that want to understand how they can move from the industrial way of doing businesses to the platform ecosystem way of doing businesses. I do consultancy, I do lectures, I do a lot of things. In the last 3 years, I have been researching the intersections between platform design and regenerative design. I don't know if you are familiar with the term regeneration or regenerative design, but in any case, it's like one step beyond sustainability. So if sustainability is about sustaining what we have in order for future generation use, regeneration is about regenerating damaged ecosystems or as a principle of design. So what it is clear is that we live in a complex and dynamic system that is Mother Earth. And nature has his own ways of regenerating because everything is interconnected, right? In a system, everything is interconnected. But for several centuries, we have seen the universe as a system made of separate parts who responds to specific laws of physics and chemistry. And it's from this perspective that is separated things, but we need, as humans, put labels to the things, separate things in order to understand better. But the reality is that we live in a complex and interconnected system. So what I'm trying to do is basically with this research about the intersections of platform design and regenerative design is basically to create platform strategies for regeneration. And what I'm trying to do, of course, is to make complexity understandable. If you look at these kind of entities, I call entities where I'm talking about individuals or organizations that are part of a system. If we look at this, the tourism ecosystem, we can see all the entities that are involved. For sure that is going to be more, but in that case, I put that, no? Intermediaries, visitors, communities, trade, innovators, residents, public administration, local producers, experiences hosts, accommodation, and so on. So this is the entities that are part of the tourism ecosystem. So it's really difficult to understand that, or to try to make some kind of sense of this kind of separated entities in that ecosystem. So what I do is basically, this is the first exercise that I do with companies in order to understand or to put order to this complexity. So the idea is basically that we have, if we are talking about the city, in the center we put the ones that are the main entities under a main value proposition. The main value proposition in that case would be the tourist experiences, or products and services related to tourism. Okay, so the ones that are in the center are the ones that are directly related with the tourism experience. The ones that are in the second circle are the ones that are the human stakeholders, that are the ones that can be impacted in a negative or positive way by the tourism activity. And in the third circle, that is something that is new in that case, we add the non-human stakeholders. So if you look at these kind of circles, you can see that if you want to really create a strategy that is ecosystemic, that is based on the system, you need to create a system that takes into account all the entities related to this ecosystem. And you need to create also the right virtual loops, positive loops, in order to do the interconnections and to do the give and to receive something, but also to give something to this kind of to all these entities. So you can't do a strategy just taking into account one entity in the ecosystem, and this is the thing that we have been done, because this kind of seeing the world as a separated machine, or as a machine separated by parts, this is from where we have designed entire systems, included sustainability. So the idea is that if you are just designing for one of the entities in the ecosystem, in that case the tourist, you are losing the perspective of the entire ecosystem, creating, of course, exclusion, negative externalities, and for sure not giving back to the place what you are taking from this place. So you need to think about this as an entire ecosystem and think in all the entities related in order to create something that really is impacted in a positive way to all the entities in the ecosystem. If you do just a strategy for an entity in the ecosystem, you are creating this kind of silos that will be for sure exclusive. They are going to exclude to the other, to citizens, to the other local producers, enterprises, and so on. And for sure not creating a resilient system, right? So resilience can't be manufactured, and resilience can be, so it's super easy to break resilience, but it's super hard to build resilience. So if you want to really build resilience, what you need to do is to take care of the social system, of the social tissues that are present in the ecosystem. So smart is not enough. And now that we have AI, that we are going to have everything from data analysis, from data management, and the outcomes that could give you the AI, so strategies, next steps, and so on. So smart is not enough. Inclusion is not enough. Human-centered design is not enough, but you need to think about ecosystem-centered design to take into account all the entities in the ecosystem, and sustainability is not enough. The idea, basically, with regenerative design or regeneration, there's something that is like emerging in a super strong way. There are a lot of cities now that want to really to think about how they can create these regenerative strategies for the destinations. And there are some examples like New Zealand, Visit Flanders, Barcelona is taking care of that. They are trying to do it. Baleares in Spain, the same. They are trying to understand how to do it. But in any case, regeneration or regenerative design is that, no? It's a step beyond sustainability. It's instead of just sustaining, it's about regenerating, and it's about through these principles that they are going to be like the base or the filter in order to make decisions, to make the right decisions. And sustainability, regeneration is about also to create, because regeneration is based on how living systems work. The complexity of the living system, no? How is inclusive, how they move from purpose, individual purpose, because there is not an individual purpose in one ecosystem. There are roles. The purpose is the system itself that has a purpose. But the entities, the different entities in the ecosystem, what they have roles in the ecosystem. So it's about creating the conditions for the whole to thrive and flourish. It's about putting at the same level nature, production, consumption, everything. It's about really balancing well-being of the society with the well-being of nature. And if you think about, if you want to read more about that, in my webpage you are going to find some articles talking about that, but in any case, it's about talking instead of problems. It's about, instead of problems, it's talking about potential. What is the potential of the place that we are planning or we want to create a strategy? Because regeneration can't be standardized, because it's place-based. So it's in the place, because of the potential of the place, because of the idiosyncrasy, the culture, the history, whatever, that you can create something that is personalized for that place. It's about creating the conditions for the development of the whole, of the all entities. It's about interconnectedness. When you are, it's working, yeah? So when you are in platform or ecosystem strategies, you are designing for relationships. A platform, what they do basically is aggregate, no? A supply and demand, but what they do is to create the conditions for the interconnectedness of the entities in the ecosystem. So they are aggregators. They create the place, the space for the entities to connect, to interrelate, to do transactions, basically. When you are creating a platform strategy, you are designing for interconnectedness. Emergence is related with when there are people working together in a place, in a topic, in a specific topic, it emerges something that could be new. And there is the innovation. So the answers, I think, that we commented during the morning. So the answers for most of the challenges that we have is the community that they have the answer. So it's the community itself in the place that have the answer to these challenges. It's evolutionary, but it's more than evolutionary because it's about co-evolution. It's not that one part of the system needs to evolve in order to thrive. No, it's about everybody needs to evolve in order for the entire ecosystem to have health. Because how we measure the success in an ecosystem is about the health of the ecosystem. And it's about holism. Holism means look at the ecosystem as a unique system where everything is interconnected and related. So when you do that, you can't create a strategy that is going to impact in a positive way in one part of the system, but it's going to impact in a negative way in the other part of the system. Annualism is one of the most important principles in that regenerative design or regeneration. It's because of that in an holistic design, there are no negative externalities. So if you want to understand more, to learn more, in my webpage you are going to find a TED Talk talking about tourism and regeneration, and also a paper that I released 1.5 months ago talking about platform strategies and regeneration also, because the idea with my research, it was if platforms are more scalable, because they are, thanks to network effects, can we scale regeneration through platform strategies? The answer is yes, we can do it. So thank you.
Perspective is going to be an abstract questions, and we are going to talk about it over aperitif. Is in all of that where the role of technology stands. So technology is also a part of all that. And if there is one thing that we have been seeing in the last years, is that the technology is not neutral. It's not just a tool. It's an active agent in generating this connection to the extremes of the agency of technology, the famous algorithm power of platforms. So how do you sort of use technology in your regenerative platform, ensuring that technology doesn't become a driver of inequalities and this kind of like privilege that the most fit users of technology are able to attain?
It's basically to make a system that is really regenerative by design. So inclusion is the same. So if you look at a system from this perspective of separated things, it's going to be super hard to be inclusive. But if you are looking from this perspective of just a unique system, it's going to be easier. So it's going to be inclusion by design. It's going to be regenerative by design, because it's embedded in the original strategy of the strategy, of the ecosystem strategy. So I have an example but it's not related to tourism, but it's a platform that is called, in the Web3 is a DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So what they are doing is to create a platform based on regenerative mindset. And what they do is basically to use the platform for others to invest in small farmers in Latin America. They have a return of the investment of the 9%, but what they are allowing is to families in Latin America to access to land and to make their own businesses with this idea of regeneration. So we have examples of regeneration, and the other thing related to tourism is more about to move from the idea of what can I do for tourist people. It's more about what tourist or tourism can do for me. So really, if you are interested, watch to the TED Talk, because I put a lot of examples of a lot of initiatives in the world that they are applying this regenerative mindset. So it's because of that, I think that move from just sustainability to regeneration, because you know what? That it can't be sustainable if it's not regenerative. It's impossible.
To be honest with you, it feels a bit like I'm defending my thesis all over again. But first, I will try to make it from theory now to practice. So I'm here on behalf of House. It's a NGO. And we do work in the development of creative tourism. And in 2018, we started off our Festival of Walks, which I will unfortunately not present here, but the Festival of Walks is done by the inhabitants of Maribor. They present the town through thematic walks, and they need to be very creative. Now, whether they decide to incorporate music, unusual places that are usually not accessible, or drawing or dancing, whatever it is, if they wish to do so, they can do it on the festival. And it is a way to kind of develop touristic content based on heritage, storytelling, and creative expression. However, I will talk today about the PACT incubator and the Traveling Academy of Creative Tourism, which is actually also a result of the Festival of Walks. And in 2019, a year after we started the festival, we actually invited one of the professors from Turistica, Diane, to kind of join on a round table and discuss heritage and tourism. And somehow it started rolling, and new ideas came about, and the PACT, so the Traveling Academy of Creative Tourism, started. And what is it about? It's about educating small people who would like to work in tourism in rural areas, but they don't know how. Rural areas are usually underdeveloped, people are undereducated, let alone any kind of digital literacy. So we invited, again, the same young students, last line on that side, so they are welcome. At any point you want to ask them something more about this, their experience in participating, you're welcome to do so. To start up a program to kind of generate new products in rural areas based on heritage, based on what is already there. And it means also that it is, so it's free trainings, we have stakeholder meetings, it is important for all the stakeholders to meet, over clinics as well, so to kind of give them some basic information to start out on where to research, on how to learn, who to turn to, because they don't know this. In the incubator and online community and online database, so we are running an online database of everything that we've learned, and it is accessible to everybody who took part in PACT. And of course, over this, we started our own little network that includes the Center for Creativity in Maribor and in Ljubljana, and then also the mentors, last line, very talented people, Service Aid, and other stakeholders from Maribor, from Ptuj, so those are towns in Slovenia, from Lovrenc na Pohorju, Murska Sobota, Slovenska Bistrica, it goes on, and it is also growing. What it looks like this. So far, so it's been 3 years, we've had 15 labs, 11 clinics, 2 incubators, 10 different places that we actually visited and actually also had the chance to explore local-based situations, because in rural areas, we have a saying in Slovenia, every village has its own dialect, so place-based situations vary from place to place. 200 participants are involved, have been involved so far, more than 12 mentors, more than 11 local partners, which are either public institutions, such as municipalities, TMOs, faculties, and of course we have this online classroom and the database where people can tap into the knowledge. And the incubator itself, so it became apparent after a period of time that we should kind of start focusing more on the individuals, because as in many projects, you have this project, you do it, but then after that there is no impact, it's not sustainable. Whereas we decided to kind of go into an open call that the participants needed to answer with motivation. So they needed to be highly motivated to come from one point to the end, and this end needed to produce something, so actually earn money or guests or something in that terms, and we selected 5 best ideas. We had a kickoff meeting with all the stakeholders, so they needed to know each other, because they're also referenced to each other for support or ideas. Then we've set a series of 6 weeks, very intense individual coachings, depending on what their idea is and what their needs are. And then we had verification of ideas for 2 days. So between them, they needed to verify whether the ideas are good, bad, what needs to be done, so they needed to file out to be perfect. And then the testing. In the testing, we have decided that actually, well, unsuspected people, random, who kind of fall into their targets, go there and test out those products to see if we can launch them. Oh, I went far ahead, okay. Yes, and you can see here on the photos what those testings looked like, so what those things were. It was not just culinary, it was not just artisans, it was a connection between nature, it was so many different things interlacing to each other and interconnecting, making it a wholesome approach towards what they have to offer, what their specific place has to offer. And here are some examples. House of Gibanica. Gibanica is a dish. They are based in the poorest region of Slovenia. And they actually took it very, very professional. So now they are offering wine tasting. You can also taste all the ingredients, touch them. It is presented to you how it is done, what is the history of it, what is the lore, the folklore behind it, why is it so special, how is it different. The other part that they also offer by now, so this was after we have finished our sessions, is that you actually can come and make your own gibanica. It's a very nice experience. You go into the garden, you smell all the apples, you smell all the ingredients, you have to work for it. Here is something else. So exploring also NFTs. So Jaka, you can later on explain also this part. So NFTs, how are they connected to tourism? The idea was to sell tickets for this very nice dinner over NFTs and test out whether it works. So far, one other event like this has been launched from Ljubljana. But we know that all around the world this is becoming a big trend. Linza is an eco-farm, so they are specializing in ethnobotanics. Their cultivation and trades and 20 different types of mint that you can explore. You can do your own elixirs, you can do your own honey-given buckwheat production, explore, I need to find this, chockberry, which is very potent. So they have an entire field that you can explore, pick, make juices. And this was their project. It's running, it's getting the money, and now they have also started to explore ways on how to involve tourism and forests, so reforestation. Their aim in general is to re-educate tourists to become a bit more aware of where they are and how they are behaving like. A day with an artist also. He's a very renowned artist. You can spend a day with him and try yourself out in welding. He's a very taken back man, and it's a bit different than what you would expect. He also takes you to his homemade vineyard. You get to taste what the delicacies of the region are specific for, while you try yourself out on welding itself. So you make your own sculpture. What we do again, absolutely we would do again the networking, so bringing together the peers, the testing phases, the verification, where they interact and give each other ideas. We would be involving again those young mentors because they have a different edge, because they think differently. We are too old. I mean, I know sometimes I am too old, but they have a different approach and can bring in some new digital ideas that we are perhaps not aware of. And we would definitely have the same time and space, which is actually with them at their houses. What we would change, we would invest more time into marketing, which is a huge problem within this area. So marketing of creative tourism in rural areas or suburbs is a problem. And we would be updating ourselves with the progress to see whether it is working or it is not. So far it has. We're quite pleased with this. And we would try to involve more tour operators and local stakeholders. This is a next step of evolvement, because we do realize that this network and the ecosystem that you were talking about, we prefer the term mycelium, because it's not just how the ecosystem works, it's also how the information goes from one way to the other, which is the most important. So if you have any more questions, last row, nice, young, handsome, intelligent, and I'll be here also for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Quick questions for Maya. Anyone? Any handsome person want to make a comment?
I would be interested to see if this kind of model, which you have experimented in the periphery, would also be scalable to urban environment. Maybe urban peripheries, maybe urban green areas. If you have plans in this sense.
It would, because it's the way it is done is very custom made for the needs. This is why we had only 5, so we can concentrate on them exclusively. It would work under the sea if need be. Yes, it's transferable.
Thank you again, Maya.
Thank you very much. I'm starting to using this, and then maybe I'm moving. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and waiting. I mean, being one of the last presentation always hard and the sun is coming out. So thank you for the patience. And I will take no more than 10 minutes to present some few things regarding to this challenging topic in Venice. And thanks, Fabio, and all the SerenDPT and the SMARTDEST consortium for this invitation to share some thoughts, because it's always challenging to speak in your own city, because I live here in Venice, and to talk about Venice and innovation in Venice in particular in this city. So I will start with this, because the topic was to speak about, in an inclusive and sustainable tourism city. This is the topic of this part of the program. And I thought, Venice, inclusive, sustainable tourism city. The first word that came into my mind is an oxymoron, because definitely this city, I don't know who is, if anyone is confident with this picture, but it was pictured some months ago. It's a guy who was diving, actually making a jump from a building into the canal. So totally what is not inclusive and not sustainable for a touristic city. So really, it's a huge challenge, because Venice, in my mind, has become the global emblem of unsustainable tourism, globally. So this is a big challenge, because if you talk about the city in different, and it's hard for me to speak in front of a professor, which I'm reading for many years and talking about the cycle of destination and so on. But the thing is that if you talk about, before we were talking about the negative externality in Venice, you can see here some of the externality of tourism in general. I mean, the problem is that Venice has them all. So you cannot just face one challenge. Let's see, for example, the social conflicts. No, you have to challenge many different externalities, negative, and this has increased the challenge for a city to address it, because sometimes it happens too much a big challenge, and then you say, okay, I renounce to do it because it's too difficult to challenge them all. So the thing is that if you go, and these are online traces of the binomial Venice and tourism, if you look tourism into Venice, into Google, into the pictures, so what the people is searching and clicking, this is what happens. So you can see a lot of crowds. This is not, let's say, the sustainable image of tourism we would like to know. Maybe we would like to address and find. And this is if you go on media traces. This is, I mean, this is in Italian, but this is Venice go tilting because in summer the beaches are full. Or this is from New York Times. This is the image, and this was from this morning. This was this morning. So
July 6th, 5 a.m. It's a journal from Sydney, and the title was Overcrowded, Overpriced, and Badly Managed, Why I'm Done with Italy. I mean, it's Italy, but the first picture is again Venice. Is this the image we are challenging? Because the problem is we can try to put some innovation, some new things, new activities, but we are challenged with all this. Okay, so this is really difficult. And the city of Venice is trying to do things, let's say, taxes, let's say, with the sponsoring, the gates. I'm not talking about how Venice is trying to address a better sustainable city, but it's trying to do a lot of things in this. But they have to challenge with this revenue of a position, because for a lot of people, it's better to stay where they are because they get a lot of money, or they get at least money in this. There's cost opportunity to change from rental to tourist and to rental to people. And then there's a resistance to change. And this is a thing really strong in Venice, a resistance to change, because the things have always been done in some way. And then if to change, you have to renounce to something. And this is really hard to admit and to do for a lot of stakeholders. The city is doing things. This is an initiative. I don't know how you are confident with Venice, but maybe have a look to the Tourist Venice. I think it's an interesting activity from the municipality to let discover the people new things. So the city is trying to do some of the things, but sometimes they are not well known. And this is a thing, I was talking before with here in the audience, some people in Venice that didn't know about the things that I'm talking in a few minutes that are happening in Venice. The main problem is, the main problem is not this, but the thing is that this is a national campaign that's being used from Italy. The problem is that if Italy continued to marketing in this way, then the people would go to St. Square, because they see this image of Italy, they see this image of Venice, so they will target these things. If we want to delocalize fluxes, if we want to, let's say, intercept what maybe the people, and to let the people change their, let's say, their behavior in the city, we have to start marketing differently. This is an easy way to market the city, because you put some market, everybody knows it, the city, then you reinforce the city, but then you concentrate the fluxes and the idea of the people into this. If the young people just see this, they would like, when come to Venice, to see just these things of the city, because they will reconfirm and repush all the people into the same places. So the thing is that we have to change completely, let's say, the way also we market in the city. And what I'm talking now in just some few lines is the Venezia. Venice, the oldest city of the future, is the payoff of this initiative. And I know that some people from Venice still don't know about Venezia, what it's doing. I'm just make a short interruption with a 1 minute video. I don't know if it starts, maybe. So this was just a 1 minute video about Venezia, the initiative, and if you don't know about it, just have a look. And there's a white paper where you can deepen and find a lot of things. I'm just showing a few things. This is the logo of Venezia, because the main challenge is why to do things in Venice, and the idea in the logo, that is one of the way of the shape is of the window in Venice, it's like to start from local solutions, start from the SDG, and then go to local solution to be unique for the city, and then to move again to this round to go for global challenges, but then to have financial returns, because it is something that is necessary if we want to make long term in terms of innovation. And
this is the payoff, like back to unique origins into an universal future. And this is, let's say, I'm presenting this, something that is happening currently in Venice. And it's something parallel that was mentioned this morning by Alessandro Costa. You have seen there was a logo of Venezia down among their nine pillar of the Venice Social Foundation. So it's connected to it. And then Venice is a city lab. We started from the SDG. And then we have international sustainability. Then we match with some of the SDG related to the sustainability solution, the providers locally, and then we go to the national sustainability solution seeker as a company, startup or re-startup. I'm going to, these are the three areas in which Venezia is moving. So climate change, circular economy, tourism, travel tech, this is the new thing, and the future farming. I'm just doing 1 minute related to climate change, circular economy, because this is happening since 3 years, so we have concrete example. While for tourist and travel tech, it is something happening just since few months. So we still had it, I mean, I'm describing to you some of the things are happening, but still we don't have something to show the result, but this is really important in situation like this. So this is, for example, 2021 finalists. These are some companies and the evaluation. This is not talking about tourism, we are talking about circular economy, but with the same system, we are trying to address from circular economy, then moving to tourism and travel tech. 2001 finalists, 2022 finalists, so it's growing. I'm not talking about this but you can see that we had in 2022 edition, we were some kind of 4,000 of a scouted startup and application made it, and then there was 23 startups selected and so on. I mean, you know the startup thing, it's a really challenging thing in order to select, and also SerenDPT is doing a concrete job in this. But what I would like to underline is that before moving to the tourist travel tech is that you need partner, you need a network, you need really to involve a lot of subjects. Alessandro this morning was mentioning a lot of the founding partner, but also other partners that are coming, big partners, multinational sometimes, local partners, municipality, but you need really a strong network. And Venezia currently has a strong network of people that want to reinvest in Venice for addressing new challenges. Let's go to this, let's say, the last key of the Venezia environment and ecosystem. It's Argo, and Argo will be based currently in this very building, in the building upper floor where you had lunch. The partners are, in this case, CDP, so Casa Depositi e Prestiti, together with the Ministry of Tourism, L Venture, and co-managing Università Ca' Foscari and Venezia, together with main partners, so Intesa San Paolo, Human Company, and School of Hospitality, of Italian Hospitality. So a bunch of partners all together, and currently it's a 3-year program. We are started the first year of program. We had 400 applications, then we selected, we had a selection day, and we are going on with this program. And innovative solution connected to high impact or potential in tourism and hospitality sectors. This is the investment that is, I mean, it's not that big, but it's not even that few for startups. For each startup, this is the investment made. This is the network of different accelerator there are in Italy. The one in Venice, it's a new one that is here. But we are talking with many different, let's say, topics. Tourism is just one, and tourism have been selected to be based in Venice. This is let's say, I'm sorry if this is still in Italian, but these are the tourist fields in which working. So going from cultural tourism to business tourism to travel, organized travel, and so on. And the values, it's sustainability, digitalization, discovery, inclusivity, accessibility, community, and production of content. This is just to let you have an idea, the moment in which we are. So it's a 5 months acceleration program. So this is where we are today. The first batch, there are 8 startups that are working into this, really challenging. Next week, they are going to come all year to discuss and present their results. And I cannot tell you let's say, and describe the name of this, because this is going to be a public event at the end of September. So I'm really happy if you want to be updated about this project. This is, let's say, seminars, because they have to make really a challenge into get better. So really they have 16 seminars, 10 checkpoints each week. We're going to check them, their result, their improvement. It's not just, okay, let's go start up, but let's say they be pushed into different topics to be better. What I would like to say at the end, because this is a travel perspective that I try to bring back to what we are doing, is that where the innovation come from this first experience of this few months.
They come from professional or personal paths of the people, of the youngs. So maybe some of them have a startup connected to travel guides, for example, to a sport travel guide, for example. Another one is connected, totally different, it's connected to sailors, for example, so it comes from this, or professional paths if they are into a particular sector, for example, for the nomad workers. Some of them are really into this tech interoperability of data, of possibility of getting new results in startup, just making together things that already exist. And the final one is the intuition of a market space. The thing is that, and if I have to say honestly, this first batch had no one applying from Venice itself. So let's say that this startup environment, it's something that you know that you have to know that there are opportunities, and then maybe you decide yourself to challenge, this big challenge. Because sometimes what's happened in Venice is that you see this big challenge and you say, it's too difficult for me, I cannot do nothing, I cannot address this thing. Even if I know there are a lot of very good stories of people who are doing new things in Venice, small things but really interesting to make, let's say, a better city. The thing is that, and unfortunately there's not anymore the municipality here, but the thing is that the challenge is to have business model and revenue generation, because sometimes when you address sustainability, it's even a good point if you can make a good balance of the investment, of what you're doing. You cannot, you not get revenue, let's say. Just you get equal to the balance, what you're spending, and then you don't make money, but you just exist and you're happy for doing good things. The problem is that generating business into going into the sustainability. And this is the big challenge, because sometimes the easy way, going back to the original business model that invade this kind of city is more easy, but then you get more money and you are less sustainable. Being sustainable sometimes is costly, it's more, and it's more difficult. So, and the last thing is that the challenge is doing here in Venice, because here we got even stronger challenge to find a house. But there was things that were said this morning, to find a house, to find the possibility of transport movement, let's say not paying what the tourists pay, because even for all of you to come here into Decca, you pay 9 euro point half to come here to this island. So if you want to create innovation, we have to facilitate and to reduce all this burden to make new business and to address the new challenges in Venice. To closing, not in a negative way, but just with this final slide, with a good way, what my suggestion and my points here are, as Argo, it's a thing for 3 years. So we still have 2 years of application and possibility. If there are some startup here or some innovators and to want to address this challenge of the sustainability, I see here 6 criticity here, 6 challenges that applies here in Venice, but also worldwide, let's say, to let the tourists be more sustainable, even more inclusive, and so on. The first is limited availability. There is availability of sustainable options, but they are not that much. So making easier, this can be, let's say, some ideas to work on, or new maybe, and to intercept the Argo next year, and to accept this possibility, so we can have maybe startups here in Venice or coming from Venice that could be involved in this and be part of this process that is going on, as I mentioned, because as we did for the circular economy in 3 years, and you see how it was growing, the aim is doing the same thing into tourist tech. The lack of awareness, this is a really field. We were discussing about also on Benidorm, knowing the things, to let the people know what we are doing. So I think this is a second field. The third is a credibility level. I think something can be done also for this, because it's a fear of greenwashing. Oh, I'm doing this, but I'm not sure that this impacts a lot in this. So I think this is a challenge to address. The second one is a premium price, because actually going sustainable, it's sometimes more expensive, and we are excluding lower people to be more sustainable. So this, it's something that it's a work area for making, let's say, put together a new idea. I don't know if the idea of putting all together, as it was in Slovenia, in this city, together, let's say, peers, or this can be a challenge maybe for tomorrow for the idiathlon. Like this premium price is something that sustainability must not be, let's say, a path for people who can pay or afford more, or only for them. That's why it's still a complex purchasing experience. Sometimes to be more sustainable, you are not, let's say, as this user interface as strong as there are other, let's say, players who are not into this. I'm talking about big players who are invest billions of money to make a user interface and creation more easily. Sometimes the small players still have it's really difficult to buy, to purchase these things. It's not for everyone, but this is a challenge to address. And the second, and the last one, is the absence of awards recognition. I'm not telling that who is sustainable must have something that recognizes that, but I think that in a smart way, in this way, there could be possibility to let the people be more proud of what they are doing, even if they don't want to show. But then I think this field can really change behavior, because what we are talking here today is to let the change behavior from the easy path that maybe it's not as sustainable to going into a better path for us, for the local community, and so on. Thank you very much.
Can you, from the point of view of Venezia, what would you consider to be the metrics by which you can evaluate that you're going on the right track in order to revert these unsustainability trends that you mentioned? So probably what you do is not going to have a direct effect, but it's going to help transitioning, okay? And what would you consider next year some sign that you are accomplishing this transition?
I mean, going for the last question, the last question is if I'm addressing these things, that maybe a selected startup, because this is an international call, comes from people from Venice, this for example, not just to go to local, but this means that they, as we were talking before about the young people who think differently, maybe a people coming from Venice can think the things a bit differently and maybe intercept more what we are doing in Venice. This, for example, a financial one, this could be a good target. A second one is one that starts not for, because these startups selected had been before, they should be already active. It's a thing that maybe, okay, I know that there is this opportunity, and maybe I put together elements for a better sustainability targeting this. Because all of them, they weren't targeted. They were doing their business, not just pushing on sustainability. They said, okay, there's this opportunity, I apply to this. Maybe knowing there is this opportunity, you can start a new idea and work on a new idea that should be economically sustainable, so generate some money, addressing the sustainability challenge for everyone. This is the second target. And the third one is maybe we can get more, let's say, an orientation of funds in this direction. Because if from these funds, maybe the ministry, for example, that is already investing in this, maybe decide to invest less in others and more into this, because understand that this can be a game changer for also the others.
So hello everyone. I hope you have energy for the last presentation. We are Today and Rudy. I'm Rudy, he's Today. And we represent Airbnb, a startup that we are working for and that we have merged our previous startup Locals from Zero with. So we are the co-founders, me, Today, Jaka and Dejan. All of them are sitting in the back of a marketplace for local experiences, which we founded during COVID in 2020. And later on, actually through the SMARTDEST project, through the contacts of Fabio and Antonio, came in contact with Airbnb's founder, Emanuele, who is not here today, but he's from Venice. Maybe, probably you know him, most of you. And well, through this, we found synergies and found that we have similar visions in tackling these issues, what we were talking about today, actually, at the whole presentation. But maybe just before I go into this one, I would just like to answer your question from before, from Maya's presentation, if it's possible to implement these types of creative tourism products in urban areas. We actually did this through our project together with Destination Ljubljana. Me and Jaka actually designed six creative tourism products together with the Destination Ljubljana. So it is possible also in urban areas, and we had really good, as Petra can confirm, that now the media is actually really impressed by all of the products, which is beneficial for the destination. And let's go now to our presentation. So we were talking about these issues the whole day. And Airbnb, the startup founded in 2016, actually tries to tackle these issues of short-term rental platforms. And these are the main three issues that Airbnb is solving. So extractive economy. So we know that most platforms are focused on maximizing their profits and not including local organizations in their business models. So this is, as we know, extractive for the destinations, and Airbnb tries to tackle this by including local organizations. loss of identity. We know that tourism products, businesses can disrupt local cultures, local identities, and remove the local sense of the local spirit. And gentrification, which is the biggest also topic of the SMARTDEST project. And this is also something that is tackled directly by Airbnb through involving locals in their business model. So let's first talk about some numbers, like what is actually the problem in numbers. So the case of Barcelona, they saw an increase of 7% in rental prices, and also 19% for the property prices for buying. They saw a minus 63% population decline in the whole city. And they have actually 55% of multi-owners, so hosts who offer more than one listing on Airbnb or other platforms. And those hosts actually have an average of 5 properties, which is the main root of the problem and what Airbnb is trying to solve with their policies. So why actually Airbnb is beneficial? Airbnb is organized as a cooperative. We are also members of the cooperative, and also the hosts, the ambassadors, they are all, not all, but they can become members of the cooperative and have a say in how the platform is going further, so have a say in the direction of the platform. We involve local communities by consulting with them about local policies, local rules, and of course we operate by the principles of sustainable and, as was mentioned before, regenerative tourism, which goes hand in hand. So, you know, everyone knows the standard model of how OTAs, online travel agencies, work. So we have a guest, books accommodation, we have a booking commission, which is taken by the platform, and then the remainder goes to the host. So it's a classic model, but Airbnb involves a more complex model, which involves splitting actually the commission. In 50% of the commission goes to the community project, a social project in the area. So this social project is chosen actually by the local ambassador, the local node, so not by the Airbnb, the company, but the locals decide where to invest this money. And as you see also, Airbnb splits its profits as well with the local partners. So for example, our team is a local ambassador, a representative for Slovenia, and for every booking that gets made in Slovenia, we also get a piece of these bookings that are made there. So, and this is with every country, it's like this. So, this shouldn't be shown. So what are some rules that Airbnb has developed? So first of all hosts have to be compliant with local regulations. So this again is verified by the local ambassador. Then we have in most cities, especially in problematic cities where gentrification is mostly relevant, we have a one host, one house rule, which can be from case to case flexible, because in Slovenia, in rural areas, this is not relevant because there's no issue of, there's an issue of depopulation actually, not in an, how do you say, yeah, not a problem of involving, problem of people moving out, so yes. And we collaborate with local authorities. So for example, also us in Slovenia, we were collaborating to get access to hosts with the government who is registering hosts. So it's something that is also done by the local ambassador. And what are some benefits for communities? So communities, as I said, can define the projects to be funded. Each booking donates 50% of the platform's commission to the project in the area, and local partners get a share of the commission. So everyone is actually included in the whole process from the start. So nothing is done in the destination without the consent or the involvement of the local ambassador. And each community is then, we call it a local node. And then also one node can have many other nodes. For example, Slovenia has then, we split it by regions. So every region then has autonomy, because maybe also every region, not the case in Slovenia, but in many other countries, has their own policies and rules and legal aspects to be considered. So who are basically the actors? I've been mentioning them all along. So the ambassadors, the national leaders, then we have some local partners as well, who can be administrative or other commercial activities, other businesses. Community projects, also important, and other collaborators such as guests, travelers, they are all, we strive for them to be included in the community as well. We also have a community platform for guests to be included and connect with other hosts and other travelers. And this is the status right now. Actually, this is live, so we have more than 2,000 listings, mostly, I mean, all of them in Europe. Now, as well, we're active in the UK, and we have our first partner in Canada, and also spreading to Asia and Africa. But yes, most of the listings and projects are right now in Europe, and we already have 71 social projects. So this is just an example of a social project in Rome, a project to support poor children and uneducated children, where for each booking made in Rome, the guests can donate amount of the commission to this social project. And this is also on the website. You can try it, a calculator, testing how much funds could be donated potentially if listings were on Airbnb. So with just 10% of the accommodation in the whole rental market, for example, in Venice, we could have 360,000 euros each year donated to social project if 10% will be on Airbnb. And yes, you can play on the website as well. There's a calculator to see that. And some benefits for hosts. So we don't charge any commission to the hosts because it's paid by the guest. And what's beneficial, because they can actually be an active contributor to the community. They can now as well with the new experience platform, they can host experiences, so they can actually get involved in many ways. And we also have a legal framework for them and lots of other, let's say, ways to help them. So we have a community team that actually just helps the host with any issues, so they are not left to themselves. Besides also the ambassador who does this. The benefits for guests, so they get to donate a piece of when they travel, they get to actually donate and do something good when they travel. That leads to a sustainable, fair travel. And the local experiences are mostly, so our hosts are mostly located outside of the biggest touristic areas. They are, they also live in the house mostly, so they live close by. It's not a faceless investor who owns the home, but it's actually a person who greets you. So it's not like an Airbnb who everything is automated and optimized. And yes, we also strive to keep the hosts as much as possible outside of the tourism hotspots. And yes, this is just a confirmation for us that 87% of all tourists want more sustainable travel options, and 67% are willing to spend at least 5% more on their trip to make a positive impact. So this is, again, a very untapped market which we see in the travel industry. This also should be up, and this is everything from my side, from Airbnb, and now today we'll present our newest platform,
Hello. So I would like to take over Rudy's presentation because I would like to introduce you another layer and branch of Airbnb cooperative, which was actually launched and founded again by our team back in 2019. And actually the whole idea, our idea emerged out of the pure need and desire to really help and support underprivileged and underserved micro lifestyle entrepreneurs and similar local providers on the periphery. And this is how I come back to the Paolo that before that we're talking about what were our goals in the City Labs actually. I can try to explain what we meant actually and what we mean by peripheral stakeholders. So we refer to peripheral stakeholders to all these located in the strict city center, so either in the strict city center or in the suburban areas or in remote rural areas. So you can see that we are looking at this phenomenon actually from two different perspectives, so from contextual and geographical point of view. And what all these stakeholders have in common, they struggle with market penetration mostly and market visibility. I could really talk on and on endlessly here, but let me maybe underscore on only 3 examples. So when it comes to promotion, It's not always the case, but in many times is that local DMOs or local decision makers actually perceive them as alternative, more unconventional, not convincing providers that do not, I mean, according to them, do not fit into the mainstream tourism offer, which stands on sustainability measures and etc. So this is one example. The second one is that they fail to keep up with technological trends and advancements. So through many workshops that we conducted with the help of Maya and the whole team through Slovenia in the last few years, we have learned that they are not familiar even with the most basic digital tools, let alone something more advanced. Micro lifestyle entrepreneurs are characterized also by being small in scale. But even though they are small, they still need to handle all these fundamental business operations. They still need to handle promotion, sales, accounting, and etc. So they actually lack manpower and they lack resources and etc. And this is how we came to their rescue with actually our model, which is marketplace for local experiences and activities. And by the way, we drew inspiration and motivation for that concept also from our personal experience, because we are all coming from rural, let's say, for this purpose, peripheral areas, and we are pretty much familiar with the dynamics there. I'm also part of the family-run business. And what is the idea actually? So it's a marketplace that on first sight resemble all these established marketplaces for experiences out there, like Airbnb for experience, etc. But we have one distinctive difference, which are scouts. This is an additional layer that we introduce. So who are scouts? So imagine scouts as individuals who serve, who act as a bridge between host communities, hosts, and the travelers. They're usually proactive, digital savvy individuals who are here to onboard new hosts, new hidden gems, as we call them, who preserve tradition and etc. So they can get connected via the platform with hosts, even before they need to scope them out. So they onboard them, and they can impersonate themselves. So they can get control of all the features in the background, and hence actually create new experience, refine new experience, even accept and reject bookings, and even communicate with the travelers. And this process is actually proved to be very useful in the past, and it's still, by the way, we are set to launch officially this platform by the end of July now. And this feature is actually hidden to the external audience, except that we are informing actually guests that in case that the experience is scouted, that scout can mediate in communication. Okay, and then an interesting story, because so far I was presenting this platform as a standalone platform, but what happened actually 1.5 years ago, we by chance, actually not by chance, with the help of Fabio, actually we came across Airbnb, and after a few discussions and meetings, we quickly realized that we have pretty similar mission, vision. We both wanted to be like socially responsible. We wanted tourism to be the driver of the change. We want to have to produce more fair tourism and etc. And we quickly decide for a merger at that time. And of course, with the merger, we have adopted all the Airbnb principles that Rudy explained before, like we are still using the same distributive model, so we are donating to social projects, and so on. By the way, for scouts, I didn't mention before, we compensate, actually they are compensated with the commission as well, which is reduced from the experience-based price. All the time we are trying to be aligned with technological trends as well, and trying to be sometimes even ahead of competition. So recently we have leveraged the blockchain technology because we started certifying listings on the blockchain, and most recently we have also created an AI-powered chatbot that can easily respond to our customer queries when it comes to how it works. So feel free, by the way, to scan this code and play around a bit, so later you can share the feedback. And here you can see the link to the FairUp platform. So this is still a standalone link to the marketplace for experiences. But in the near future, we plan to use this FairUp new brand as a global brand for all the, for both platforms actually. So that's all from my side. Feel free to join us in any role that we presented today. So either as scouts, as ambassadors, even as a traveler, and join a growing community.
So the scout is a new entity, or is somebody that is inside the platform and is going to play the role of a scout?
So there is a functionality that individuals who feel comfortable in becoming a scout can simply apply through the application form. We need to approve him because in advance he needs to provide us some basic details, who he is, what skills he possesses, and etc. After he is approved, he can start scouting. It's very important that scouts know their region inside out, and they're coming from the region, from this node that Rudy presented before. Because otherwise, as you probably know, locals can quickly perceive scouts as intruders if they come from far away. And then, once they get connected, immediately actually the scout get access to the all host functionality, and he can actually act in his name. This is the way how we can really improve the responsiveness. This is first thing when it comes to the host, because I can give you an example of my mother. We are a family-run business. She's the only one who is doing her stuff, right? And I'm perfect example how to scout the host, because she's usually checking her email inbox once a week. Given that I'm constantly on the computer, I can easily cross-check 2-3 inboxes and reply in her name. Otherwise, the tourist who was inquiring would have gone. So this is actually the main USP that we are offering.
I think that these sessions, the 2 sessions we had today, were quite informing for us. I mean, people that are in the project, people who have presented, and the audience about, I think every presentation, also in this last session, every presentation had something that we should look at attentively, because it has potential to do something in terms of challenging the social exclusion phenomena that we have been analyzing. Not everything does the trick, but certainly something in terms of data management, in terms of how destinations, the philosophy of destination management, in terms of new ideas, new approaches, even philosophical approaches to destination management, and then new products, new services, new experiences, new community experiences that are growing up. They all can plant the seeds of what I would define as embarking in a transition that is very difficult. So, and this is something that maybe I should have said strongly this morning. What we have been analyzing is actually, and I don't want to look dramatic to you, but it's one of the big tragedies that humanity will be facing in the future. Generalizing is the fact that one of the biggest driver of challenges for humanity, this came out of an article published in Nature a few years ago, is the fact that seamless mobility means that there are some places, and not talking even about tourism, but some places are challenged in their fundamental ecosystem by the fact that many people can go there and there is nothing we can do about it, independently of how great destination managers we are, how expensive mobility is or will become in the future, and how democratic a system is in granting free mobility of citizens over its territory. We are going towards a future where mobility is also increasingly unpredictable. So the fact that many people insist over a certain ecosystem, even if in a short period of time, but also on a constant basis, is one of the big challenges for our biodiversity, our welfare, etc., etc. And we obviously do not deal with that kind of complexity in our project. We are just talking about tourism, transnational migration, etc., which is a part of it. And we can be optimistic about the things that are being done differently, mindset changes that have been inspired also by COVID and by the vulnerabilities that it has exposed, by the fact that you get to some kind of tipping points where certain places which have been resistant to change finally understand that they need to do something, and maybe it's too late to go back, but certainly they can start doing things differently. Today we have an illustration of a number of models, a number of small ideas, big ideas, new technologies that could help in that. The challenges is enormous, okay? And what we have been talking about in our project, which is residents having to move somewhere else, badly paid workers, is just a tip. There is much more to that, and I'm convinced that at some point the kind of conversations we are having, the kind of research that we did, will need to cross-reference back to the question of global sustainability transition and climate change, and so move to a very different scale of thinking in terms of mobilities. So this is what we've been doing, and all we heard today is very interesting. This is one from the last of our events. We're going to have a final project event in Barcelona in September. And then we give everything back to the Commission, but also to our target audiences. And what we are really hoping for is that from the day after the end of our project, those who have participated in our activities, those who have been active members in the projects, and also the many other people that we have been in contact with during our project, will continue to work together, maybe towards some next steps in terms of implementation, monitoring, feeding new experiences, such as the Sustainability Foundation we've heard about this morning, or Venice. And so this is a project that is finishing finally, but is hopefully going to have some children, some nephews in the future, and we are going to continue to work on that. And now I'm handing over the mic to Donag, who is going to be the lead person for tomorrow's activities. One of the communities we want to transfer our results to is students, is people in training, in formation. And so the design, this workshop, the second day of this workshop, has this kind of intentions. Okay, let's see what people who are studying tourism or associated field can do in 4 hours, inspired by our conversations today, inspired by some of our documents, and giving back something that can ring some bells, open some lights, and be with us for a whole day working on that. So.
Grazie, Paolo. Thank you. So tomorrow is all about, as Lucia was talking about, looking at potential. So not thinking about the problems. We've heard a lot about the problems today. The earlier part of today was very much around celebrating some of the research outcomes that we have had, and some other kind of thinkers who've been thinking about some of these significant problems. So we've got a pretty good handle on what the problems are. And this afternoon, we saw a lot of ideas in terms of potential solutions or potential approaches even to solving the problem that we've been talking about today. And as Paolo just said, this issue that we're looking at in terms of over-tourism and the social implications of it is really connected to how we use our resources and how our planet kind of can maintain the ecosystem that it has. So tomorrow is very much around looking at solutions. We invite you all to participate, as well as some very, very interesting students that we have coming along from domains such as architecture, tourism, urban studies, digital technologies, and a whole set of domains. We have 4 topics that we're going to be looking at tomorrow. And these are topics that have emerged over the course of the past number of years from the set of cases that we've been looking at. So these include inclusive tourism, housing affordability, which we heard about today and has been a big discussion in our SMARTDEST project, everyday mobility, and data democracy and community empowerment. So we have these 4 topics tomorrow. Those of you who come to us tomorrow, the first part of the session will be very much around putting these topics at tables and starting discussion around what potential ideas and what potential solutions will be around these ideas. People will move from table to table depending on their interest in the ideas. And just before lunchtime, during our lunch, hopefully the lunch will be just as delicious as it was today, we will start to choose ideas underneath those themes that we will develop high-level solutions for. And at the end of the day, we will ask presentations on those solutions, and one team will win a very exciting prize. So tomorrow, we hope that you will stay with us and you will share the insights that you have as individuals with those students that are coming and help some of the idea development. We've seen today the potential from our Slovenian friends of what can happen when you come up with an idea. You can be connected to Airbnb potentially, and the startup journey is all yours ahead of you. So hopefully what will emerge from tomorrow will be just as inspiring as what we saw from Ljubljana just now. So looking forward to having you there tomorrow, and thank you to colleagues for today's session. It's been incredibly engaging. That's it.